Hey, Ruth. It's good to see you taking a break. It's been a crazy busy day. How are you settling in?
Good, good.
I think things are done a little differently in Westport's shelter, so how are you feeling here at Safe Haven?
It's different, that's for sure. And I'm struggling with it a bit.
Well, what's feeling like a struggle for you?
I just don't get why we're talking about emergency contraception and pregnancy at intake. I keep feeling that it's an unneeded burden.
Right. I get it. And I forgot you weren't here when we did training on this. That totally makes sense. There were some staff here that were really uncomfortable about this work when we started. It was kind of a mutiny about it, actually. Folks just flat out wouldn't have these conversations with the women.
So what happened?
Basically, we learned that there was a lot of missing information, and we'd assumed that staff understood more than turned out to be the case. So we backed up the train. See, in 2010, there was follow-up to an important study that was done with women in family planning clinics in Northern California. The National DV Hotline surveyed over 3,500 women about reproductive coercion. They asked the women in the survey if she had a partner who was trying to get her pregnant when she didn't want to be, to try to control her, which can involve a range of things from destroying birth control or preventing access to a clinic or threatening to hurt her if she used it. And the bottom line is, similar to the study, 1/4 of the women said yes, that had happened to them.
I mean, I do know that happens because women have shared that with me. Some who came into the shelter very pregnant, they told me things like that happened.
Exactly. But what that means for our work is that safety planning is bigger and different than what we ever realized. Like planning around reproductive safety if she returns to the relationship, or knowing about hidden forms of birth control. And for a lot of folks here, it pushed big buttons to talk about having emergency contraception available at shelter.
I can imagine. We weren't allowed to even give out Advil or regular cough syrup at our shelter.
It's funny you mention that. The Washington State Coalition did this really cool info sheet for advocates about new thinking that's been going on in the field. See, it helps staff to see that access to over-the-counter medication is part of respecting her judgment and healing from trauma. We stop being the deciders about what she wants or needs.
I get that. I always thought that rule made women's lives so much harder than they needed to be. But I know personally that talking to her about sex and birth control and all that stuff can be really upsetting. And do we really need to be doing this the first 24 hours after she gets here?
I totally hear what you're saying, and it is really important. And if access and timing weren't an essential part of this, we would wait. And you're getting to the heart of what we realized staff didn't understand, that we can, if she wants help with it, help her prevent a pregnancy by getting her emergency contraception. It can be given up to 5 days post unprotected sex, but it's much more effective the sooner you take it after sex. Well, we can imagine the huge impact on a woman's life to have a pregnancy that wasn't planned.
I heard emergency contraception can really screw up someone if they take too much, or especially if they might be pregnant. It can cause a miscarriage or even hurt her.
Well, that's a big part of what the training is about. At first, it felt like we were doing an episode of Mythbusters, and basically, EC in no way affects an established pregnancy, nor causes a miscarriage. It's kind of like if you have a friend who missed some pills, got pregnant, kept taking pills, but didn't realize she was pregnant till maybe a month or so later. Taking the pills didn't hurt or interrupt the pregnancy, and they weren't bad for the pregnancy. EC works in the same way.
Well, that makes sense about why emergency contraception is over the counter, I guess.
Exactly. So I'm getting ready to do an intake with a woman, Lori, who just came into shelter last night. Her kids are getting settled in the playroom. Would you like to sit in on the conversation?
Yeah,